Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. As always, I'm your host, Tony DeMakis with Alliance Specialties and Laser Sales, and we're here for another great show. If you don't know who Alliance is, let me just tell you briefly. We are mold makers that don't build molds. It sounds ridiculous, and it kind of is. But we do all the things that mold makers don't want to do. Everything from polishing, mold finishing, laser welding, laser engraving, hot runner manifold repair, preventative mold maintenance, you name it. The things that need to happen in plastic injection molding are the things that we do. We don't build molds because that's your job, and we don't want to compete with you in that area. The other thing that we do is we build and develop laser welding and laser engraving systems for all industries. So whether you're looking to cut metal or weld jewelry or make repairs on your molds, we have machinery and equipment that can help you with that. All of it is built here in the United States in our Prairie Grove facility by our team. We believe in American made. We believe in supporting American manufacturing, and we're here to help with that. So if there's anything that you guys need as far as mold services or machinery, please feel free to give us a call or send me an email at tony@alliancelasersales.com. And we will be happy to help you with anything that we can. As always, this is a live show, and it's for people that want to learn more about what's happening in manufacturing. So if you have a question throughout the show, please feel free to throw it in the chat, whether that's on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. We're checking all of those the entire time of the show, and we want to continue to engage you and ask the questions that you want asked and talk about the topics that you want to talk about. So I'm excited today. I've been trying to get this person on for quite a while. We had a few hiccups in the beginning, but overall, I think it's going to be a great show. Chandler Slavin-Bond is here from Dordan, and real quick, she spent 5 years at Dordan as a sustainability coordinator. She worked with Walmart Canada, Napcor, APR, TLMI, SPI, and others to integrate PET thermoforms into the PET bottle recycling infrastructure. It's a lot of letters and a lot of words there, but that's okay. Over that time, Dordan conducted bio-based compostable plastic R&D and LCA packaging modeling to provide its customers with tools for investigating sustainability packaging solutions. I think she's going to put this a lot better than I can say it. So I'm going to bring Chandler in, and we're going to get into some conversation here. So welcome, friend. Uh-oh. Are you there? Oh, you got to mute something. All right. You there now? Oh, she logged off for a hot second. Hold on. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Here.
Success.
Sorry about that. I don't know what the deal is, but I have you on my phone now.
It's okay. It works.
Okay, cool.
If this works better, then this works better.
Okay, awesome. I missed the intro, so I don't know what you said.
I ran through a bunch of your credentials that you sent us about how, you've been at Dordan for at least 5 years, right?
Yeah, I know my credentials. I just wanted to let you know I didn't hear it. No, I've been there for 12 years. But
12 years.
The first 5 years I was full-time sustainability. So
okay.
that's what the majority of this jazz will be about, because it's the most interesting, unless you want to hear about thermoforming.
I honestly, I want to learn more about sustainability because it's one of those things that I think a lot of people want to know about and want to help with, but they don't know how, which to me is really frustrating, right? Because you feel like you're doing your part. You finish your almond milk carton and you throw it in the recycling bin, and it may not be going to where it's supposed to go. And I think a lot of people want to do more and they just don't know how.
Yeah, for sure. There's certainly a disconnect between, like, I will say, fact and myth when it comes to sustainability. So I suppose the best way to start this conversation is for me to talk about, like, what is sustainable packaging and what tools are out there. So, okay. So the term it's called life cycle analysis, LCA for short. The fancy way of conceptualizing it is essentially the environmental inputs and outputs of a product or package throughout its life cycle. So from material extraction, conversion, manufacture, distribution, use, disposal. Throughout that entire process, resources are used. So like not just the feedstock, not just like the paper or the plastic, but so is carbon insofar as like the energy required for manufacturing, right? Oh, wow, I am super
Well,
close.
you got really big there. Okay.
It's my face. Like, I guess the way to conceptualize, like, let's see, an easy example. The plastic bottle, because I know plastic.
Yeah.
So, it's not just because everybody kind of hates on plastic, right? Because it's a non-renewable resource. But if you analyze the full life cycle of the plastic bottles, like production, use, and disposal versus alternative materials, that'll give you a better understanding of what the actual sustainability is. So when I say environmental inputs, I'm talking about, again, like the feedstock, right? The pulp or the like the cracking and the polymerization to make extruded roll stock. And then I'm talking about how is it converted, right? Like how do the paper mills produce the paper packaging? How do the plastic manufacturers make it? So what, like energy and supply chains, like the energy used to produce materials, packaging materials, like far surpasses typically the amount of energy used in the packaging type itself. I don't know if that makes any sense.
So you're just it's not as energy efficient, I guess, right? So you're using more energy to create the products. So it's not really helping much. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying like when people see like a paper bag or a plastic bag or a reusable bag, people assume that the reusable bag is better, right? Green.
Right. Right.
Because again, it's reusable. But if you run like a life cycle analysis, which pulls data from like I guess like not think tanks, like the information is like readily available, but it's super complex and super annoying
Sure.
to go through. But so if you do a full life cycle analysis, you'll actually find out that like lo and behold, you have to use the reusable bag like 30,000 times to basically make up for the energy used in its production versus a plastic
Got it.
bag. So
Got
just
it.
or like with the straws, right? The bamboo straws, the paper straws, everyone hating on plastic straws. It's the same thing. So it's like paper in its essence is heavier than plastic, right?
Yep.
And that's typically why the cost of transporting plastic is cheaper than the cost of transporting paper, because it's like more dense. I just lost my thought bubble. What
No,
was I
I
talking
think
about?
the energy that it takes to create those products and whether it's transporting them, whether it's using them, how much you actually have to use something before it pays off its weight and its time of creation. I just think it's one of those things, like you said, everybody hates on plastic right now. It's like the in thing to do is hate plastic.
Mhm.
But I remember when everybody hated paper, right? And you would go to the grocery store and people would say, "Is plastic okay? Because we're trying to save the trees."
Yeah.
And they would push paper products. And now it's the flip side of that, where people are, will you take paper bags? Do you have recycled bags? Because everybody hates the plastic bags. But I don't understand. I mean, I think it's going to shift again. We're going to have a time where people go back to, are plastic bags okay for you?
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to do the right thing,
Yeah.
and you're right about the misinformation. But the problem is, like, oftentimes perception, like, trumps, reality. So
Yes.
even in the scenarios I talked about with the plastic bag versus the reusable, or again, like with the straws, which I didn't get into, but it's the same scenario, like, it doesn't matter. Like, the data's there. People have run
Right.
like very extensive research analysis on these life cycle impacts. But
Yep.
at the end of the day, there's still this perception. And unfortunately, like a lot of brands, like very big brands, like instead of, taking initiative to educate their consumers on like the realities of sustainability, they're kind of just they've given to the consumer demand. Like the
Yeah.
consumer misconception. And that's something I'm working on. I have an article coming out about this issue, about the responsibility of brands to educate consumers. Because when reports are being published by the Society of Plastics Industry, it's like, okay, like, a lobbyist for
Right.
plastic wrote a report saying plastics are better. Like, there, a lot of people don't really feel comfortable with that being like the genesis of the data.
Right.
So, for
And
the
that makes
first,
sense because it's biased, right? The people that are in the Society of Plastics Engineers or whatever that is, they're not going to come out and say these are the evils of plastic
right.
because they want people to use it. So it's good to have an independent third party write these articles. It's just a matter of finding, especially now, how do you trust anybody that's a third party? Everybody has some sort of agenda in some case.
Well, it's funny you say that because the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, she's like this super fabulous lady that has lots of money and is super into charity. They have an initiative called the New Plastics Economy.
Okay.
They're working like throughout the supply chain. So everyone from, resin suppliers and converters and bottle makers and brands to basically fix this issue on recycling plastics. So
Okay.
all of this kind of goes. So like I wanted to start with life cycle analysis because I wanted to explain that it's not just the recycling that's important. It's the material. Where's the material coming from?
Yep.
How is it made? Right.
Yep.
And then so now that we've kind of touched on that and I didn't do the best job, we can move on to the recycling aspect because, again, to the consumer perception, it's like, that's what consumers see, that's what they interact with. That's what they put either in their garbage or their blue bin. So it's
Right.
like, that's how they feel a sense of agency, like they're participating in sustainability.
Right.
So that's become a really huge issue. And so the new plastics economy has recognized like that recycling in America and Europe is broken. Like it's like we've had the same recycling rates since like 1990.
Broken how? Like people are not participating in recycling, or it's broken like they try to recycle, but they don't know the right way to do it?
That's a great question. When I say broken, I mean, okay, so it's all down to economics. Okay.
Okay.
So recycling is managed by municipalities, which
Yep.
are it's funded by tax dollars, and there's no real incentive to increase recycling. It's a service they do. It's just kind of considered like part of their budget and whatever.
Yep.
When I was trying to get thermoforms, plastic rigid thermoforms, to be recyclable,
Yep.
the issue was that for something to be recyclable, there has to be a large enough volume generated in the waste stream. It has to be easy to collect. It needs to be cheap to recycle, and there needs to be an end market. So,
Okay.
for instance, like plastic water bottles and milk jugs are like two of the most common recycled plastic packaging types in America, and well, Europe's a little different. And so that's why I wanted to kind of piggyback on the bottle recycling infrastructure when it came to finding a way to recycle thermoforms. So my argument was that because there's all this volume of PET, like
Yep.
we need to find a way to collect more PET, which would then provide like in doing so, it would kind of like facilitate the growth of the end market, which would like catalyze investment in sortation and recovery. Like I don't know if you've ever been to a recycling mill or facility. Like it's pretty crazy. Like they just bring all this product and just like dump it on like a conveyor belt, and people are
Okay.
just like picking stuff off. So it's not terribly sophisticated. Okay. And like
It doesn't sound like it. It doesn't
no,
sound like it's this rocket science thing. And
no,
you know, when
it's
I've
very
talked with people, they tell me like if you just throw all your recycling in one thing, a lot of it doesn't get recycled because it's a nightmare to go through and sort it all. And you got to take the lids off the jar. Like you finish your almond butter, you got to take the lid off the jar and throw them away separate because if they're together, they don't get recycled the same way because it's different materials. And I think my opinion on a lot of things in the world is that it's not that people don't care, it's that people don't know what they can do. So it's a lack of information on everybody's part.
yes, but I think that the change needs to come from Well, okay, so there's a thing called extended producer responsibility.
Okay.
It basically means that instead of taxpayers funding the recovery of packaging, the like entity for putting that packaging into the market is responsible. So basically, they pay for the recycling. So
Okay.
it's like, and so it's in their interest to make their packaging recyclable because it's more expensive the harder to it's more expensive the harder to recycle it is.
Okay.
So like, by having like private entities, companies, being like, oh, like, we're being taxed essentially on our packaging, we need to find a way to recycle it. It provides a more strategic and standardized approach to recycling, and that's what we need. Like everything is every municipality is different, like what they collect is different, the buyers are always, it's a mess,
Yeah.
and to make things even more complicated, and this kind of piggybacks on ocean trash, okay, which is like a huge issue and just like breaks my heart.
Yeah.
So ocean debris, okay, it comes, what is it, it's 80% of all plastic that enters the ocean each year is coming from the same um, 3 countries in the Southern Pacific:
Okay.
Indonesia, China, and the Philippines.
Okay.
So, and the reason for this is because so the packaging that we don't recycle, so the stuff that's hard to recycle and we haven't made any investments in recycling.
What would that be? Like, give me some example of the things that we don't recycle.
Oh golly. Like fancy, like bedazzled cartons,
Bedazzled.
well, like, stuff that has, like, think about it like multi-component packaging,
Okay.
like fiber with laminate, with all sorts of like.
Yep.
The singular materials are the easiest to recycle, like PET.
Right.
So the more fancy is more challenging, with the exception of Tetra Pak. They make those like paper cartons and they have that fancy laminate, but they did an amazing job, like before they introduced it to the market, working with recyclers and making sure they had the capability to recycle it. But again, it was coming from private interest.
Right.
But so hard to recycle packaging is, like, I'd say like 70%. And
Now,
that's shooting from the hip. Go ahead.
do you think that is due to consumers, right? Consumers want to buy stuff that's fancy and flashy and looks more important before they even open it. So more companies are trying to have complex packaging so that it's eye-catching to the consumer so that they could sell the product, not for the package, but for what's in it.
Sure.
But they're, but, and then on the same point, you have those same consumers who care about sustainability and want to make an effort. They don't realize that by wanting this fancy little widget that's in super complex packaging, they're making it more difficult.
So, okay, so back, if I could just take a
Yeah,
step back,
go.
the issue with like China and ocean debris, when you say hard to recycle, that doesn't mean that it's not recycled. Oops. It means that it's hard to recycle in America. So
Okay.
what we do is we bale up all this mixed plastic, mixed paper, like whatever we can't easily, why can't I figure this out with my phone? Whatever we can't like easily sort and recycle, we bale it up and we ship it overseas.
Okay.
And it's because it's super cheap for people to manually go through America and Europe's essentially garbage. I mean, it's recyclables, to manually sort through it and figure out what to do with it. But like, that's why so much is entering the oceans, is because these same countries that are receiving our hard to recycle recyclables, most of, not to like sound like a whatever, simplify, like they might not even have basic waste management infrastructure. Sure. You know what I mean? So it's like, so all this stuff is just kind of random. Like, it's like, it can go, it goes into like the rivers. And like, that's why if you see those atrocious pictures of like canals in India and it's just all plastic, it's just because they're buying all this material because no one else wants it. And there is value in it. We just haven't taken the time or effort to retain that value. So the reason I went down this whole rabbit hole is because what I was trying to say is that the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, they're trying to find a way to infuse plastic with its actual value.
Okay.
As opposed to seeing it as this like disposable, throwaway, single-use entity.
Okay.
Because there is value, but we just don't have the capabilities to retain the value after use.
Yep.
So it's like a complete remake of like the economics of plastic production.
Yep.
I don't know.
No, and I mean I've heard that before, right? Because if something is, you have the bottle, you have whatever, you can take that material and you can make new products out of it. My parents' deck is all recycled plastic.
Sure.
But it's a matter of being able to do that. Like Mary Kate posted that she believes that the system is broken, quote unquote broken, right? Starting from schools where we're taught from a young age how to recycle properly, but can we do it better? Like, is there anything else that we need to educate consumers on, and how do we do that? I mean, companies are not. They should, right? They should educate them, but there's a level of like, how much can we do?
Sure.
Do we need full on recycling plants reinvented and rebuilt? And you got Joe's Build Back America Better, whatever it is. Like, should part of that be recycling? I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, and I know from talking with Rich Olis and people in the industry, part of the problem with what they see with American consumers is that we need products to be white. We need products to be super perfect. And a lot of times what they've told me with recycling materials is you don't get those super pure colors, and there are imperfections.
Oh,
In
yeah.
Europe, they don't care if their vacuum is off-white because it's a vacuum. It's not meant to be this pristine product. It's a vacuum. It's a tool. And in America, we go, no, it's got to be stark white. It's got to be super clear. It's got to be super pure. How do we adjust that?
Yeah. Okay. So real quick, that reminded me of, gosh, I forget what country it was, but they came out with this like brilliant marketing campaign about like ugly fruit and vegetables, because food waste is by far the largest volume of waste by far.
Yep.
And like at supermarkets, like a lot of consumers, to your point about wanting things stark white, they don't want, apples with bruises or like, old bananas. So there was this campaign about like, it was really cute. It was about like loving these damaged fruits and vegetables, trying to get people to change their perception of what consumption looks like.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, I get that, like, there's always this tug of war, right? Like, oh, it's the consumer's responsibility. Oh, it's the municipality. Oh, it's the manufacturer. And obviously collaboration is ideal, but it's funny. I actually got to sit down with Rep Lauren Underwood, and like 3 other women manufacturers, and that was my question. I asked if any of the investment was going to be going to recycling facilities, and
Okay.
kind of souping them up, adding automation, adding better, just making them more efficient, so we could economically recycle stuff in America
Right.
instead of shipping it overseas for them to then sell back to us.
Right.
But she wasn't available to comment. But yeah, I mean,
Of course not. I mean, when you actually have a point and something that you want to know that could help the country, the state, the situation, why would they be available to comment?
tell me how you really feel.
I mean, it's just
No, I hear you. I mean, it's whatever. But yeah, I
and
think
I just think it's really frustrating because I don't know anybody that says recycling and sustainability is stupid. I don't know anybody that says that. Everybody wants to help more. They just don't know how. And I believe that from the corporate level all the way down to the people that are eating the stuff. Like, I know that there's an organization now, to your point about the ugly food. I saw that there is it's like a farmer's market online kind of thing where they only sell ugly food. They sell the food that nobody else wants, so it doesn't go in the garbage, and it's discounted food, and it's still really good vegetables. It's still really good fruit, but it's the stuff that people are not trying to grab at the supermarket. And somebody just had to create that space. So how do we create that space that allows people to do more than nothing, I guess?
I think, like, unfortunately, I've become a bit of a pessimist, cynical after
Okay.
doing it so long. Consumers, like, yeah, like, do whatever you can to, like, to reduce your, to reduce your footprint, right? Like,
Yeah.
drive electrical cars, like, eat vegan, like, whatever. But it's like, come on, like,
Don't eat vegan.
no, consumers, like, in the scheme of things, like, compared to the footprint of five companies worldwide contribute, like, 70% of all greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like, yeah, it's cool, like, consumers can do A, B, and C, but it's just like a drop in the bucket. And it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, I represent a privately held manufacturing company. So anytime I talk about putting pressure on private company or publicly traded multinational companies, it makes people a little uncomfortable. But, like, we're truly talking about true sustainability. Unfortunately, the players that are contributing the most to, like, climate change should be held accountable. And, like,
Sure.
I don't know what that looks like. And it's like consumers like convenience.
Well, and I could be wrong. And I mean, you mentioned the countries in the South Pacific, right?
Yeah.
In America, I don't know there's that much that we can do if we're not contributing the most, right? I mean, I think we have regulations. I think we have things in place. I think there's efforts here, but you can't control what the rest of the globe is doing.
Sure. So I wasn't speaking about recycling per se when I was talking about the same five countries.
Okay.
I was talking about when it comes to like what consumers can do, and like how you can lower your consumer footprint. Like, it's a drop in the bucket compared to the environmental costs of certain companies'
Sure.
product services, and they have the opportunity to do a better job. That's different than the recycling. Like, yes, the recycling market it's a global market, and it's extremely complex.
Yeah.
And so it's like the only way for us to increase America's actual recycling rates, not including what we ship overseas, is to invest in domestic recycling infrastructures. And the easiest way to do that is to tax packaging, which I don't want. I'm just saying Belgium has shown that to be very, very successful. And I know I'm thinking of like a city on the East Coast. I want to say maybe not Boston, but anyway, they just introduced the first EPR for packaging because they have it. Sorry, I'm almost done. They have that in California with, like, batteries,
Okay.
like used oil or whatever. It's like there's legislation that says, like, hey, producer of this, you have to find a way to recycle it.
Yeah. I
I Sorry.
I think that's a good plan. I mean, if you have a product, you should know how to get rid of it, and in a way that's not going to be detrimental to the world, or make a product that lasts forever, which nobody wants to do because then you don't buy any more of them. Richard Evans from RPS, which is my awesome Yeti, the
Oh,
only Yeti I own,
I love
is
that.
yeah, it's the only one I own. So speaking of recyclable, right now I don't need water bottles. It's great. Thank you, Richard. He says there are products currently on the market that are made from 100% recycled plastics.
Mhm.
The company I worked for previously also owned a recycling center and reclaimed tons of plastic to use in their products. The key is finding the products where it can be used.
Mhm. Yeah, totally.
It's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. What resin was it? PET?
We'll
Is
have to
he?
wait for him to answer. He's
Oh,
watching, so he'll answer us.
because yeah. Okay, so Dordan, like,
Yep.
I'd say like 80% of what we produce, with the exception of like medical packaging and trays for automation, is rPET. It's recycled polyethylene.
Okay.
It's post-industrial, which is different than what I was talking about earlier about the stuff going to China, which is post-consumer. And they have two completely different, like, recovery infrastructure. Did he get back to us yet?
Not yet. Not yet.
So post-industrial is super cool. It's super fun. It's super clean. Like, basically, I'm sure most manufacturers do it. Their scrap, their edge trim, whatever, they sell back to their supplier to, like, do whatever they do, and then
Yep. Put it in a regrind and back in the machine.
Exactly. So that's brilliant. Like most manufacturers are doing that. I was
Yep.
talking more about like post-consumer packaging and the interaction between the consumer and the packaging, not so much the interaction of like me as a thermoformer. Well, I guess it's the same thing because we're making consumer packaging.
Right. So maybe Dordan has to create the facility, and then you have to get all the customers that buy all the products that have the packaging to give them back to you so you can regrind them and make more
No.
products.
So there our PET, that's why I wanted thermoforms to be added onto the PET bottling.
Okay.
Because like I said, PET and like HDPE, maybe HIPS is like the most recycled materials. That means the infrastructure is there.
Okay.
So so there was like Dordan, as someone who manufactures rPET packaging, like the infrastructure already exists for
Okay.
us. Like that being said though, like it's always changing. So once I finally got recyclers to accept PET clamshells or rPET clamshells to recycle with bottles, like 2 years later it changed because all of a sudden the cost of virgin plummeted and rPET became more expensive and no one wanted to buy rPET. So, you know.
Yep. Yep. And so you're saying the virgin material was cheaper than the recycled material?
Yes, has been a time where that was the case, but there's also a difference to make things more complicated,
Yes,
which
let's. More complicated is always better.
which I touched on. So again, the post-consumer recycling and post-industrial. As manufacturers, we understand post-industrial recycling. To your point, scrap, blah blah blah. Post-consumer means I make a package, a consumer uses it, and a consumer puts it in a blue bin, which is municipally managed.
Yep.
Okay. So the cost of like we had a thing with like one of our larger cosmetic clients. They wanted us to quote post-consumer rPET, which
Okay.
is great because the idea is that by wanting post-consumer rPET, it would facilitate increased collection, recycling, and supply.
Okay.
Um, so we're like, okay, great. And then we got them pricing, and it was super expensive post consumer versus post industrial because think about the logistics of post consumer recycling. You got to collect it. You got to get it back to a recycling mill. You got to sort it. You got to clean it. You got to sell it to someone in the industry that has the capabilities of reprocessing it back into flake for extrusion.
Yep.
So there's a lot of touch points. So that's why it's more expensive. And people are like, it's just not easy, is what I'm trying to say. And like, no.
Yeah. And I get that. And I think, we've talked about it on this show a bunch of times whether it's an increase in wages, whether it's an increase in conditions in manufacturing plants. I'm not saying they're bad in the United States. I think they're very good. But whether it's wages or conditions or recyclable or whatever it is, as consumers, we have to get over buying everything on Amazon at the cheapest price point because as somebody that works in a manufacturing company, right, we know what goes into making products. And it's not like all these companies, most, the smaller companies, they're not full of a bunch of rich people. And so if consumers keep trying to buy things cheaper and going to Amazon and buying all their products that are made in China or wherever they're made, it's very hard for the companies to reinvest in the technologies to make an impact on the world, to do better things because nobody wants to pay the money. So
Yeah.
on one hand, you got everybody complaining that I want sustainability, I want this, I want that, but I also don't want to pay any more money. Somebody else has to pay that money because businesses make too much money. Well, that's not the case. And
Yeah.
if we want change, we have to support the people that are going to try and make that change.
I think that's an awesome point. It's funny you say that because I remember like, what was it? Like kids, like youngsters, like
Yeah.
they all have like their iPhones, jazz, like they're all like, oh, like I'm a vegan and like I drink out of Yeti.
Yeah.
But their phones, like chemical or not chemicals, components of their phone are mined in a country that's like in the middle of like a social breakdown, or like
Totally.
Apple products, like you have the people like jumping out of the building, which is horrible because the conditions are absolutely terrible. So it's like, so they're saying like, I care so much about sustainability because it's trendy or because I actually care, but I'm buying products that are hip and cool and cheap from places that are abusing like humans and animals.
100%. 100%. And you have celebrities all over the place doing it, right? Whether it's, you know, LeBron or whoever's wearing Nikes and the conditions at Nike, it's like, come on, really? How much do you care? I
I know.
mean, make something happen. You have this voice and you want things to be heard. But most of the manufacturing companies in the United States that I know really, really care about their people and they really want to make a difference. But they're limited to what they can do because it's a global market. It's a global game where if my product is too expensive and it's very similar to something that's cheaper, most people are going to buy the cheaper product.
Well, yeah. And so that's a fantastic like segue. It ties everything together because you keep being like, consumers want to do the right thing, but they don't know what that is because there's misinformation. And then I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah, no, but like, and that's why I said, like, people love convenience. Like, if they really cared, like I said, everybody, God, sorry, I keep messing with my hair. I don't like being able to see myself. I keep trying to get like the right lighting, and it's just, anyway, what was I saying? I got distracted.
You were saying how I say people try to do the right thing, but then when it comes down to it, there's a lot of limitations to that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, okay, like, if consumers want to do the right thing, it's like, that's why packaging is scapegoated, right? It's like, let's focus on packaging and like recycling packaging, and all of a sudden like straws and bags are so important, when like, again, I've used this expression before, it's a drop in the bucket compared to, like if you were to eat vegan, like, like cattle production is like one of the biggest contributors to greenhouse gas emissions,
Yeah,
or like,
but cows are delicious.
oh no, I'm not. Well, I'm just saying it's a,
So,
so
I
I
mean, I weigh that out and I go, cows are delicious and I don't like winter. So,
ah,
that they both work out for me.
I think consumers want to do the right thing, but I think it's so funny. I was talking to my friends and we're like, gosh, like, I just wish like we could all just boycott Amazon. Then we're like, but it's so convenient.
Totally. I mean, yes. And maybe it's one of those things, right, where you need a company like Amazon to set the standards and say, we're going to sell. Maybe somebody needs to create a new Amazon. Oh, this is what we got to do. Chandler, you're brilliant. I mean, you and I, we're probably about the same amount of broke ass. I'm sure we can handle this.
Totally.
We'll create like a sustainable Amazon where we only sell products that are made sustainably and in a way that is beneficial to the world.
What is sustainability?
I don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, that's what I was saying.
That's why I have you.
Well, that's why I started this conversation with life cycle analysis. Like, just read, like, if you understand life cycle analysis, you can understand how you start to conceptualize what sustainable products and sustainable manufacturing looks like. And to your point about a green Amazon, sorry, do we have to go? What time is
No,
it?
I got
Okay.
time.
And to your point about sustainable Amazon, the reason that I started at Dordan in 2009 was, well, no one wanted to hire me because because it was the housing bubble, and
Okay.
I thought it
Well, at
was,
least you have a reason. It wasn't just because you were terrible.
well, I mean, that's maybe an excuse. I think I thought I was smarter. I think everyone comes out of undergrad thinking they're like so smart, and like everyone would be so lucky to have them, and then all of a sudden you realize you have like no skills. Like,
Well, I wouldn't say no skills, but I do think that when I go back and I look at all the stuff that I designed in school, it's
oh,
bloody
cool.
awful. And I look at it and I go, I don't understand why anybody ever hired me in the first place because I had, like, to your point, very little skills. And I learned so much more as soon as I got into the real world. And I actually had like real projects that were meaningful and looked like something. But before that, it was just like, oh my gosh, why would somebody hire me?
Well, I should clarify. I think if I'd studied something that actually had real world application,
What did you
is,
study?
so it's a mouthful. Religious studies with a concentration in social justice and ethics and a minor in sociology.
That sounds fascinating. I want to get together with you for a beer just to talk about that.
It was so fascinating. But like I said, when I graduated, I was like, oh, wait a second. Like, you don't want to hire a liberal arts degree? Okay. Where were we going? What were we? There was a reason. There was a reason for the tangent. And it was relevant.
What were we talking about, Mary Kate? Sustainable Amazon. We talked about sustainable Amazon. Yeah, there we go. See?
Okay. So I started in 2009 because that's when Walmart came out in like 2008. It was called the packaging scorecard.
Okay.
And it was the first time it basically attempted to create a database of suppliers and where they scored on like a sustainability index.
Okay.
So it was the first time that private entities were talking about sustainability. So like all of a sudden people who had never been included in like discourse on procuring and designing packaging were like, is this green? Like they started throwing around these terms that people still didn't totally understand. So that started the sustainability Amazon. I mean, they had good intentions. I don't know how much they were able to, well, I'm not going to talk about Walmart, but I don't want to get in trouble.
If anybody from Walmart ever sees this, I'd be shocked. So let's just be honest.
Yeah, sorry. I guess we're not like that big of a deal. So
no. One day, years from now, they'll go back and watch it and they'll go, oh, we should have been upset about that, but not now.
Not now. It's actually, I did upset people. I wrote my first report on plastic versus paper because that was like a big thing. When I started, my dad was like, like all of a sudden, like we're competing with paper and like, I don't understand. Everyone's saying it's green, like do research. And so I came up with this research report and it took forever. Like I was like pulling data from EPA and like whatever. And to make a long story short, I got is it a cease and assist? Is that what it's called?
Oh, it sounds important.
Yeah, it was from the Pulp and Paper Manufacturers Alliance saying like I had to stop what I was doing.
Because you were learning too much?
Because like people just didn't talk about it.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean it was wrong. It means you were onto something, right? At that point, it means that you were digging into something that nobody wants you to know about.
Well, yeah. Have you ever tried to like pull data from the EPA's website?
No, I've never tried to do that. That's not something I try to do on a regular basis.
The reports are just, I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, being able to like analyze and extrapolate data to make an argument or just answer a really simple question was at the time I was doing the research, 2010, extremely challenging. It's like, so anyway, I made it like really simple report, like how much, water is consumed, how much electricity is consumed, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, it pissed him off. So I remember being in my dad's office and getting it and throwing it in the air and being like, why? And like falling on the ground, like so dramatically. It's ridiculous.
Is there security footage of that somewhere? I think that would be fun to watch.
Thank God. Looking back, I was like, where was your professionalism?
Well, and I think that's an additional issue, right? I mean, I think that there's data out there. It's just impossible to get it. So people have to report these things and they have to put it somewhere. But once they put it somewhere, they don't want anybody to get to it. And if you can get to it, it's too convoluted to make any sense of it. So there's nowhere to go. And, I think that people don't like when kids learn critical thinking skills because that allows them to think outside the box and come up with new solutions and new ways to do things. And I really don't think people like new solutions and new ways to do things. I think people like comfortability and they like just staying the same old. Then you get some pioneers that do critical thinking and they rock the boat and people don't like that.
Like cows?
Cows are delicious. Every part of a cow, except for the liver. I don't like liver.
Hang on. I wanted. I actually heard that. I think it's Woodstock High School is offering like a rhetorical analysis of like social media. class. Because like obviously like social media is the way that a lot of people are getting their content, their news, their information.
Yep.
And so like, how do you understand, how do you sift through it? How do you analyze it? How do you understand the implications, and as opposed to just taking it at face value? So I thought that was really interesting.
And even with social media, you don't always get both sides of the story. So depending on who runs social media is what you're hearing.
Like the blackout.
Yeah. The blackout and whatever else, right? I mean, you can have an opinion, but sometimes your opinion is censored and shut off. And, that's the problem with sometimes social media.
There's lots of problems with social media. I think that's a whole nother podcast though.
Yeah.
Did I make any sense? Did I answer questions? Did I?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you like need clarification on?
So Mary Kate had a question that I thought was good, but first Richard said they process a variety of products, but I can answer with a full list. We built several tools that would run 100% recycled PP.
Oh, polypropylene.
Yep.
Cool.
So, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I imagine that was all like closed loop, like that was their facility. Like they were getting PP from a supplier, they were using it, and then they were using the scrap to reprocess into.
He's usually good. He'll answer us.
Okay.
So what are you doing now as CMO? How are you making impact? How are you making an effort? How are you changing the world?
Oh boy, how old is Kate?
Mary Kate?
Mary Kate, I'm sorry.
23.
Yeah, that explains that question.
We're all trying to do something to change the world, right?
Sorry. I'm not trying to be so cynical.
She's offended.
I'm sorry. No,
she's also 23, so of course she's offended.
Oh my god.
We're joking. Listen.
What am I?
She says she's not listening to the podcast anymore. She's done.
That's fine.
We're on our own.
I think I'll answer her though, and
All right, there you go.
What am I doing to change the world? I am trying to keep my company running well, to continue to provide living to those who we employ, being able to bring more people in to provide them with a living, to be able to train them to develop more skills so they can ascend through like the ladder of engineering or manufacturing, and produce good products at a low cost, and on-time delivery. No, for real though. I think owning a company in America is like a pretty big deal. Manufacturing company.
I agree. And there's a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of behind the scenes things that people don't think about or realize. And that's why I was making that kind of joke, right? About how from an outside perspective, people say, yeah, tax the businesses, tax the corporations. We're not rolling in dough.
Yeah.
We're trying to keep raising the income rates for everybody that works for us. We're trying to continue having good working environments and insurance and all the other things that make a company run. And it's difficult.
Yeah, no, I don't want to tax companies. Oh my gosh, like right.
That's because you run one. That's why you don't want to tax it. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking.
No, but right now, like labor is insane.
Yeah.
We can't get enough people to run our machines for the life of us. And we're offering like market costs, like we're offering good money. And like, it's just, it is brutal. It is. And like, I feel like it's awesome. Like the liberal in me is pumped that like people are getting, like, I don't know, jobs that have more meaning, jobs that like, that provide a living wage. Like that's awesome, rock and roll. But like, I can't believe the impact that it's having on our business.
See, that's the other side of it. So of course, everybody wants everybody to have a living wage. Nobody wants anybody to be, suffering or anything else. I've said this before. When I was 14 years old, I was bagging groceries at Jewel. I don't think that is a job that should make $15 or $16 an hour. I just don't. I think that's not a, it's not an adult job. That's like a first time job. That's a high school kid job. And I think you graduate out of that. That's my opinion. And then of course, when you get to your adult jobs, they should pay more. But if the guy bagging groceries or the person bagging groceries is making $15 an hour, how much do I have to pay the laser engraving guys?
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you compete with McDonald's? McDonald's spending $15 an hour and a $2,000 signing bonus to put a hamburger in a microwave. I mean, I don't know. I don't. Where do you go from there?
I know.
I'm just being honest. It's very difficult.
I appreciate your honesty. I'm torn. I'm torn between business Chandler and like personal Chandler. Like, yeah, and I'm trying not to sound like a jerk. Like I agree with you. Like it throws off our entire pricing model.
Yeah.
Like we have someone who's grinding plastic, for instance, making $17 an hour.
Yeah.
Like to your point, like it's just the value that's brought isn't that. It's
correct.
And so it's just we don't know what to do. Like you'll probably get a kick out of this. I was packing. I was stripping and packing in the clean room trying to get one of my jobs out.
That could mean something totally different.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. Sorry. You're terrible. I missed that.
Yeah, let me delete it from the live world. Sorry.
Just trying to make ends meet, Tony. Okay, go easy on me. I'm a feminist.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
and yet we're still friends.
And yet I know, right? So yeah, so it's really challenging. Right now our sales are through the roof. Like, God bless, and we have jobs like scheduled through the new year, and we don't have enough people to run our machines.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's a hard thing. I tell people all the time, if you're looking for a job, you can go to any manufacturing company, I would say in the United States, not just limited cities, walk in and apply and they will hire you. If you have a willingness to work and to learn, you can get a job. And if you say you can't get a job, you're just not trying.
Oh man, well, that's depressing. Okay, well,
it's not depressing. I think to me, the optimist says the economy is great. Manufacturing is killing it. There's opportunity everywhere. It's just a matter for people to want to do that and be a part of it and embrace it. But I think we're in a good place. We just need more people that want to work.
I don't know, because we've brought we've probably hired 5 like line workers in the last couple weeks. They had one come in, he left after a couple hours. We had one not come in. We had one come in for a day and leave because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard work. I mean, I worked on the lines when I was 16. I mean,
totally.
Sort of for a couple hours, and it's hard. So whatever, I get it. I'm not here to tell people like what they should be doing. All I know is like from my tiny little vantage point, it's been really challenging getting workers.
Yeah. So we've got 5 minutes left. If people are watching, we always do prayer requests and we do a prayer at the end of the show because I think it's really important. I think it's important for all of us. So if you have any prayer requests, Mary Kate had a thing at the bottom. Go ahead and put that in the chat and we will get to it. But, I think that, that's what I was going to ask you. How is Dordan? Are you guys marketing and actually putting out there the sustainability of your products and what that looks like? Are you using your skills to get that out?
I mean, that was my thing for years. I mean, I did that full time. Like we didn't even touch on the biodegradable stuff.
Next time.
I loved it. I love it. It's my passion. But it didn't make a difference. It had no impact on our bottom line.
Does that depress you?
Yeah, that's why I'm cynical. That's why I'm cynical and a pessimist. And like I said, I see things like from a very like, I think it's awesome. Everybody should do what they can. Every company should do what they can. But like, I just see things from like a very like, after researching for like a decade, it's like there's like really big players that can have a really big impact, and it's
Right.
like the ones that like are doing something. Yeah, of course we try to do everything we can to be green. We're trying to work to like remake our electrical grid so we're not using as much coal. We recycle everything that we use.
Yeah.
I mean, manufacturers are already, for the most part, sustainable because we have to pay for not being sustainable.
That's my
So
point. So we're trying.
yeah, it's just like part of the model. But no, I mean, honestly, like I still write about sustainability for Packaging Digest, but I'm not like super current. Like it's not like I do it full time anymore. My marketing is more now on. You know what? Actually, that's not true. I just did a YouTube video on ocean debris. I don't know.
It's fair. Mary Kate just told me that's what she was asking. I paraphrased for her when I said, "How are you changing the world?" So it was my fault. It wasn't her. She actually had a good question. I was just being more ridiculous when I asked it. So.
Okay. I suppose to her question, yes, I still use it. I do a lot more like strategic marketing now, though, because we utilize an inbound marketing software that pulls like a ton of data and analytics. So I see like where our customers came from, how to engage more targeted prospects through content development, depending on where they are in the buyer cycle.
Yep.
So like I said, I did it for so long and no one really cared, besides like our competition. So now it's like, now I do a lot more technical stuff, like what do engineers care about? What do quality control people care about? I really like sustainability, but I feel like it's just kind of like, it's not what it was. It's not a buzzword like it used to be.
Right.
So,
well, I think part of that is right now plastic can't be the enemy because people still have plexiglass everywhere.
yeah.
So, you can't make plastic the enemy and require it for life.
I do think that overall the dialogue on sustainability is improving and is becoming more nuanced because it's a very complex topic. I feel like the FTC has been cracking down on greenwashing. I feel like all around, like people are, like I said, being more careful with the language that they use and understanding it's, like I said, a very complex concept. It's not like paper versus plastic. It's not, it's really complicated. So, and I respect that because I feel like a lot of people are coming to understand and embrace that.
And again, that's where I would go with, yes, people like to just throw stuff in the garbage. I'm happy if somebody just throws it in the garbage. I mean, when you drive around and you see all the crap on the streets and everywhere else, if people would just throw it in the garbage, much less the recycling bin, I think we're a step up. But I think that I think people would do more if they knew how to do more. If there was more. Go ahead.
Have you heard of Literati?
No.
It's an app. It basically rewards you for picking up pieces of litter.
Oh, nice.
It's fun.
How does it reward you?
There's points and stuff.
Okay, so it's like a living video game. Like
Yeah.
instead of finding a Pokemon or a dinosaur, you find a 2-liter bottle and you throw it in the garbage.
No, it's a gamification of like keeping streets clean. But it's interesting because the idea is that it'll actually provide like like data, like where is the most amount of trash, or like for instance, they were like, we're finding all these Taco Bell, ketchup or salsa bags. Like, where is this coming from? And it was Taco Bell down the street. So like, what could they do? Like, maybe we should put a garbage can at the at the light, so people that buy carry out and put their little hot sauce on have a place to put it instead of throwing it out the window. Like super simple stuff like that. Just like basically trying to like, it's for the people that developed the app, that was more the intention. Like, how can we pull analytics and see like systemic, like systemic, like I'm trying to use too big of a word.
Yeah, whatever. You got to dumb this down for me.
Yeah, basically, where is it coming from, and can we find any patterns?
Yeah, and then do something about it, right?
Yeah. do something about it. So there's that. And I don't know. All right, I'm getting tired. My voice hurts.
I remember the first time I talked to you and we talked about doing a podcast, you were like, so this is like 10 minutes, right? I was like, are you crazy? 10 minutes?
I don't think people have attention spans for very long.
Well, they tune in, they tune out. If they listen to what they want to listen to, it's fine.
Okay.
But this is an hour and this is an hour and a minute so far. So see, 10 minutes. I mean, 10 minutes, we would not be anywhere.
I understand, but as the chief marketing officer,
very important.
I'm very important. Marketing officer of one.
Yeah.
I found that people, first of all, video is people's number one favorite content type to consume. I mean, that's very obvious with the rise of like all the different video-based platforms, and super short. Why do you think TikTok exists? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're super short. So that's why when I do YouTube videos, I strive for 3 minutes.
So what we usually do with this is Mary Kate will go through and rewatch it and pull out segments that are, 1, 2, 3 minute segments, and then we'll repost those on YouTube and things as well. So,
cool.
But you can't limit that, and you can't get all the content in 10 minutes.
No, I get, like, it's so funny. I emailed her like 20 minutes being like, is this a video thing? I asked my husband, I'm like, because I don't listen to podcasts, which I know is really stupid because people like love them and there's so many good ones out there.
And then she asked me that, and I thought, well, now I'm offended. She never even watched what we're doing.
I know. No, I went to your website and like
that was just admittance of I don't watch this.
No, trust me, I assumed it was. And I went to your website and there was a link, but it had like the audio play. There we go. Audio play button. And I pressed it and it was just audio.
Yeah. The video ones are on YouTube.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool, man.
So now that I know that you don't listen to podcasts, I won't tell you should go back and listen to more of them.
I don't know. Like a favorite?
Do I have a favorite? Yeah. Yeah, it depends on what topics you want to listen to. One of my favorites that we ever did was when I was still working more closely with mold making technology. And we sat down, Christina and I sat down with my dad and Charles Klingler from Chandler. And we talked literally for like 3.5 hours. We sat around their kitchen table with like 4 glasses of wine or 4 bottles of wine. I'm sorry. 4 bottles of wine. And they were just telling stories. So it was like listening to the good old days of what mold making was and how they got their start and where we are today and what they saw. And it was awesome. And then we ended with them telling each other bad dad jokes. It was awesome.
Wait, I have a bad joke.
Oh, yes.
Wait, I'm sorry, it's good, Steve. Okay. What do you call a bear with no teeth?
What do you call a bear with no teeth?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
A gummy bear.
I'm going to use that tonight. That's a good one.
And then I have one more. And then
okay, good. Well,
I will leave.
I have I have an accounting one.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Did you know that 10 plus 10 and 11 plus 11 equal the same thing?
Okay.
Yeah, because 10 plus 10 is 20 and 11 plus 11 is 22.
I don't understand.
Like 20 also, 22.
Oh, okay. Got it. Sorry, I'm not like, I don't get memes. Like sometimes. Okay, and then the last one. I get to the last one. Where does broccoli go to get a drink?
Where does broccoli go to get a drink? I don't know.
The salad bar.
I think it's the delivery too. You go the salad bar. Wow, wow.
Oh my gosh! All right, good stuff, man.
All right. Well, do you have any prayer requests now that we've told bad dad jokes? We've talked to sustainability, bad dad jokes, the state of manufacturing and hiring people in the world, and we might as well wrap up with prayer requests.
I do not have one.
Okay. Well, good. I'm going to pray for us, and then we're going to go.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for this opportunity to talk with Chandler and all the things that she has to share. We pray that you would help us to find ways to make your planet better, whether that's sustainability, whether that's improved conditions. We pray that you would give us that knowledge. And we just ask that you would watch over all of us who are sick or struggling with health situations or whatever else we're going through, whether that's cancer or COVID or just depression and fear. We just ask that you would be with us and watch over us, and that we could give you all the glory. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Chandler, thank you. This is like a year and a half in the making.
Over and out. I'll see you later. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
All right, I'll see you later.
All right, bye.
Bye. Everybody, thank you for watching and listening to the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. Man, I can't talk right now. Maybe I'm like Chandler and my voice is tired. I swear it's just water in my RPS Reaction Plastic Solutions Yeti from my good friend Richard Evans. But I just want to thank everybody for watching, listening, and for being part of the conversation when you could. If you would like to be part of the show or you have any comments, please send us an email at tony@alliancelasersales.com. And we will be happy to have you on the show to tell your story, to get your input on what you think is going on in manufacturing in America. And so for myself, for Alliance, for Chandler and Dordan, thank you for watching. Take care and God bless.